All right, good afternoon. My topic this afternoon is on engaging thoughtfully, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to use your mind and to use it well. So let's get this last presentation done with. In the book of Mark, it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all of your mind. The Bible is not silent on whether or not we should engage with our mind or not. In the book of Hosea, it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The Bible says that we are to have faith like a child, but nowhere does it say we are to have the mind of one. And I think that is part of the problem today, is that Christians receive their salvation and then they leave their minds in infancy, never training it, never cultivating it, never sharpening it as iron sharpens iron, as we are called to do. Studies say that over 60%, and that's a very conservative number, over 60% of students stop attending church within their first year of college. I believe that this is because they left their minds in that infancy, that they did not train it, they did not cultivate it, and they didn't know what they believed or why. And so when they got to college, they were slightly pushed on their beliefs, and they came crashing down. They caved, and they walked away from the church. John Stott says in the book, Your Mind Matters, to denigrate the mind is to undermine foundational Christian doctrines. We are called to cultivate our minds. We are commanded to, as iron sharpens iron, it says. And so to disregard that is to disregard one of the biggest points of Christianity. Now, one of the problems is that we don't think about what we interact with on a day-to-day basis. The National Study of Youth and Religion says a mere 17% of teens say that their faith makes an impact, that it matters in what they choose to watch or listen to. And this is a problem. We don't think about what we engage with, and our faith doesn't have any relevance on what we choose to engage in. Now, all this is the problem. And so what does the flourishing mind look like? Well, the flourishing life of the mind is not cold and rigid, as many people tend to believe. It is not. There's a robotic unfeelingness many people tend to associate with men of intellectual prowess, and it's an association not completely uncalled for. Many people can and do abuse their intelligence, but the flourishing Christian will not use his mind to belittle anyone. Rather, he'll use it to cultivate someone and build them up. Now, something that the flourishing mind will realize is that knowledge for knowledge's sake is not enough, and head knowledge is not enough. John Stott says that heaven forbid knowledge without zeal should replace zeal without knowledge. Now, if I just grow in head knowledge and that's it, nothing with my heart, I will get more and more dispassionate, my heart moving further and further away from the issue, letting my mind take a detached view of living. The lost person cannot approach me because I'm a robot, I'm a machine, I'm calloused, I'm cold, I have all this head knowledge and nothing here. And so the lost person stays lost and I fail my mission. No, we need zeal. We need passion. But those two are not synonymous with ignorance. We need knowledge as well, and those three work well together. So how do we get there? How do we get to our flourishing mind? Well, if the problem is that Christians are mindlessly engaging culture, then I think that we have to engage and develop them before anything else can happen. That has to be the first step. Now, the problem today is that we are lazy. We as Christians, we think on the easy and kind of go after the simple. John Stonestreet says that, convenience is a good thing. Convenience as a primary thing is not. As a Christian that personally struggled with just going after the convenient, just going after the easy, I think it is time that we made a conscious and constant effort to think on the inconvenient. That's a vague term, I know, let me try to flesh it out. I think that there is a way to practically challenge and engage whatever we are taught or told, whether it be from our pastor or from our professor. One of my solutions, a way that I think that we can do this, is to come together as a group of Christians, not in a Bible study, but in studying, praying about, and just looking at cultural norms and on cultural issues and things that we just accept without thought. And I think it is time that we think well on things. Now, this group might read a book together every so often and engage the ideas therein and see where they line up with Scripture and where they do not. Another function of this group would be accountability. We are not going to want to engage thoughtfully. That's just our fallen nature. But we need our friends standing right next to us to keep our legs steady and our chins up. We need each other for accountability. And so this group would grow together in closeness. They would learn together, kind of like we do in the academy. They would learn from open discussion. And they would just come close together in intelligence and in brotherly love. But as I said, we're not always going to want to engage thoughtfully. One of the most prime examples I can think of is music. So let's talk for just a second about that. It is easy to listen to this song because it has a nice beat or a nice rhythm, regardless of the lyrics that we're letting fill our minds. It is so easy to just go with what is popular at the time. And I see Christians all the time trying to justify this, trying to engage and say, well, I'm just listening to this song just so maybe my friend is listening to it right next to me, so maybe I'll be able to talk with him after it about the song or about something else. Or maybe I'll be able to keep this friend and it'll be a witnessing opportunity. But engaging in evil in order to witness is not our prerogative. That is not our right. It is to engage in something that we know to be wrong in order for the possibility that we might be able to witness. For maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. It is wrong. Our job is not soul winning. Our job is to sanctify our hearts, and that is how we are to be an example. We cannot save anyone. And so often when we try to, it says in the Bible in 2 Timothy, in 2nd and 1 Thessalonians, in Amos, it says everywhere, flee from evil. And that means regardless of what or who we leave behind. And that's hard. That's excruciating to have to trust God with that. But that is what we are called to do. That's what we are commanded to do, to leave the soul winning to God. Dallas Willard says in Renovation of the Heart, too often we try to get people into heaven rather than heaven into people. We cannot save anyone. Our job isn't to make people happy or comfortable with their lifestyles. We will offend people. We should. Paul says in Corinthians that we are going to be an aroma, a fragrance to the believers, and a stench to the perishing, a stench to the non-believers. We have no excuse for engaging in stuff we know to be wrong in order to witness, in order to do anything. We have no justification. It is not our calling. It's not our job. Now, the second solution I can think is that it's kind of simple yet difficult at the same time, so let me try to kind of explain it. We need artists today that understand what art is, understand the beauty of the created thing. I think it is time with those people with worthwhile talents, that God-given talents, I think it is time we took them to the world. We have an obligation to, as Neil Gaiman says, make good art. That is my solution. As for myself, I want to write books. That's what I want to do. It's my passion. And these wouldn't be deeply theological or devotional books. These would be fiction. These would be fantasy, in fact. But I can glorify God by what I choose to write, regardless of the genre. And that is my intent. I want to create something beautiful with the imagination that He has given me and share it with other people. But in order to do this well, I have to embody my values. I don't necessarily need to write about Jesus, but if what I write ends up being a contrary or detrimental to the cause of Christ, I've made a wrong turn. My values should be evident in what I write in one way or another. A song I write doesn't have to be about the holiness of God, and movies I write for don't have to include a crucifixion. Making good entertainment does not mean making it Christian. But if I embody my values, I won't create anything detrimental to the cause of Christ. If I embody my values, I will label truth. If I embody my values, I will make good art. Now, I dwell upon the two E's in this, engaging and developing others and embodying the values that I claim to have. I cannot just tell people that they do wrong. I have to stand next to them as their friend and point them in the right direction instead of standing against them as their accuser and pointing them where they went wrong. I cannot just tell people what I value. I have to show them. I have to live it out. Our minds are one of the most important resources that we have. And as such, we should take care of them. To so thoughtlessly throw in with culture, I think, is directly against what we are commanded in the Bible when it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We cannot any longer continue in this thoughtlessness. It is our duty to think and to think well, to use our minds to engage well. It is our obligation, not only to God, not only to ourselves, but to other people, the people that we are around every day, the people we influence. And in order to influence well, we have to think. We have to think well. If we do not, there will literally be hell to pay. For the wages of sin is death, regardless of how ignorant that sin is. And if the people are ignorant of their sin, it's because we did not show them. It's because we did not live in such a way that made them wonder. It's continuing in this folly, in this thoughtlessness. The only result is a world that does not know that it is lost, and a people who do not know that they are bound for hell, all because we did not think. Because we sat around with our Sunday smile masks on, ignorantly listening to the sermon and then discarding the mask for the rest of the week, going along with the corrupted, polluted current of culture, proving to anyone and everyone watching that we don't have a clue what is going on, and picking up that mask next Sunday. This is folly. This is sin. To so disregard the mind that God gave us, to so trash and waste it. This is wrong. So let us think, let us have minds, and let us not be a menace to those that we are trying to help. Thank you.